So you can't really start talking about the economy until you mention what coronavirus is currently up to in the market. So we have over 2,500,553 cases of coronavirus. There are 127,649 deaths. There's 1,068,000 recovered. One of the sad things about trying to talk about coronavirus is it is politicized at this point, so that when you try to talk about it, you always get some Trump sycophant or some right-wing troll who tries to say, yeah, well, why don't you talk about the recoveries and why don't you talk about the cases of people who got over it and blah, 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 blah. And then they try to come on radio shows and they're trying to say, oh, yeah, well, we shouldn't talk about it. We're sowing fear. They know that Trump is going to get his ass kicked this year, and a lot of them are still in denial. And even his swing voters, many of which voted for him in 2016, they are themselves reporting in most polls that they don't intend on supporting him. Now, it's obvious why this is happening. First of all, coronavirus has had an unprecedented impact on this economy, and Trump has showed that he can't handle it. He has handled it by blaming everybody and by, demagoguing people and casting blame on everybody else except himself. And he tried to print his way out of it by sending people welfare checks. Unfortunately, he's finding out pretty quickly that when you're a bunch of Americans who are living above your means, a $1,200 check when the average person is spending more than $3,000 a month just to keep their head above water, a $1,200 check is a joke. And by the way, if I make a mistake when I'm thinking of any numbers, like, you know how Biden said 120 million when he meant 120,000, well, then, whatever. That's sometimes, your mind, you get these numbers in your mind, and then when you spit them out, sometimes they don't come out right. So if you have a problem with me making a mistake with some numbers, then you can go throw yourself out a goddamn window, because I don't give a shit. So anyway, and, Biden will never tell you that, but I'll tell you that for him, and if you got a problem, you come see me. So anyway. We're up to, New York. We're reducing the number of our new cases. There are a lot of new cases in California. I heard Texas has a lot of new cases. But other than that, the situation seems to slowly be improving. The economy is opening up, but there's been a lot of contractions of the virus among young people. And, because it's among young people, that's a problem, because then you got their parents who worry, and then you got these people, most of them don't have health care, and so forth and so on. So, situation is slightly improving, but we're still going to, within the next few days, we're going to pass 130,000 dead. And that's a really bad number to have that many people suddenly taken out of the economy. So I have family members who've been looking into estate planning. I have some family members who've been buying plots in the graveyard, and they're trying to get their affairs in order because, this kind of thing makes people worry that they're next. And what they basically are trying to do is make it so that nobody fights over property when it gets passed down to the kids and everything. So basically, if my parents were to go right now, I'm going to take all their property and I'm going to do stuff with it. Like, if I take their houses, I'm going to rent them out or whatever. And they're trying to make sure that it's a clean transfer of wealth. That's basically what it is. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been looking into life insurance, because when you're dealing with a virus that kills the fuck out of people, see, the thing about it is it's nature. You can't argue with it. It's not like it's some gunman out on the street where you can call the cops and the cops come and deal with them. This thing is an invisible killer. And when it kills you, it just kills you. There's no argument. You just die, and that's it. And if you're lucky and you build immunity to it, you're okay. Thing about it is somebody else ain't going to be so lucky. So that's the scary thing about it. And you can't argue with nature. Nature will wipe you the fuck out, and that's just it. There's nobody to argue with. You can scream at the air. It don't matter. And you just can't argue with it. So my thing is, what you end up having to argue with is the trolls who don't want you talking about it because they know that this spells the end of the Trump presidency. So that said, That is what is currently going on right now. And we still have a couple of days. We haven't even hit July yet. So we still have a couple of days until July. And by that time, we'll definitely have passed 130,000. So the Dow Jones shed over 600 points. Now, last week this time, I'll go back to 1 week. Last week this time, we were almost at 27,000 points on the Dow. Now, if I go back a little further, you'll see that we had a great up week a little over 2 weeks ago, and we were at 27,632. Everybody was celebrating. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, this is great. The end is near. It's over. It's almost over. We can go back to normal. Coronavirus kicked our asses, but we're back. Nah, the more and more I look at this market, the more and more I understand it ain't going to be that simple. First of all, the one thing you got to understand is that there's almost 50 million people underemployed or unemployed. And when I say underemployed, the underemployment numbers are probably actually a lot higher, because when I say underemployed, what I'm saying is you've got people who are working jobs that are not paying healthcare, that are not fully paying for them to actually live, like they can't pay rent and eat and buy clothes and, afford their healthcare. Underemployment, which I learned back in college during sociology, underemployment is actually more dangerous than unemployment. Underemployment is really bad. Unemployment is bad too, because then you can't really afford much of anything. But we're in a situation where welfare checks being sent out by Trump have been stretched so thin until he can't possibly print them fast enough. In order for Trump to turn this economy around at this point, the federal government would have to literally destroy itself by printing money. And I'm saying they literally have to be handing every single adult American like $5,000 or $10,000 a month just to keep their heads above water. Because the sad thing is, even the adults that make that kind of money, $100,000 a year, they're living above their means and they're always deep in debt. It doesn't matter if it's their kids that have to go to school and they're paying for that, or if they're buying expensive German cars because they're trying to show off and make themselves look rich when we know they're not. Or maybe they're buying shit that they just shouldn't be buying, like Gucci bags and stupid sneakers that are ugly, and they think that they're cool, but they're not. And they're putting themselves deep in debt. And I'm not going to just pick on, the lower income people who waste their money on stupid shit. I'm going to also pick on these rich people who buy boats and yachts and airplanes and helicopters, and they think that shit looks cool in their yard. Thing about it is, as soon as an economic downturn comes in, they're trying to off-lease these things and sell them, but they can't because there's nobody to buy them. A lot of Americans are living above their means, and Trump cannot print welfare checks fast enough to stop what's coming. He's going to end up a one-term president. Biden's going to be the president, because Biden himself is not a chaos candidate. Biden is not a polarizer. Like, there are some people who are trying to talk bad about him and say, oh, yeah, well, he may have touched a woman or sniffed her hair or everything. But meanwhile, when they take that hard look of criticism and they look at themselves and they see that their wallets are fucking empty and that their president is busy just blaming people, it's like, for the most part, they end up turning on him. And that's the reason why Trump is so behind in the polls right now. And I really hope that when Trump loses, it will put to rest the fluke of 2016, where Hillary beat Trump by 3 million votes, but because she didn't get the electoral win, she ended up losing. There is no contest on earth where you lose by 3 million votes and win. That's the most biggest bullshit in the world. And when these pathetic Democrats retake the House and Senate and the presidency, the first thing they need to do is get rid of the Electoral College. And I'm sure somebody's going to come up with a reason why that shouldn't happen, but I don't really care what you think. What I'm saying is the Democrats, the first thing they need to do is get rid of the Electoral College. They can give us health care and all that later, but the first thing they need to do is get rid of the Electoral College. Then they can move to health care. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. So anyway, let's take a quick look at my stocks. So everything is basically in the red. I think I lost about $5,000 within the last month based on what's happening now. But because I sold all of my Tesla stock and I made well over $65,000 after taxes, $5,000 is not a loss, especially considering it's temporary and I still own the stocks. So I'm pretty sure that it'll come back. It's just that it's not going to come back anytime soon. Dow Jones was down to 25,000. Most of the stocks that I bought, I usually have bought near the low. So because I bought them near the low, I usually don't end up losing money. But some of the stocks that I bought nearer to, I wouldn't say they're high, but I would say like they're mids for the last couple of months. So that's the reason why I'm down a couple of dollars. But again, I really don't care because I sold Tesla and that alone made up for my losses. Sanofi is up $3. Gilead's down $6. Gilead was about $80 a share because Gilead makes remdesivir. Sanofi makes distribution of, they have the coronavirus vaccine distribution plans and the logistics for it. So basically Sanofi has slowly been increasing and Gilead has decreased a little, but that could always come back once a viable cure, or not a cure, but a viable vaccine is on the market. That might take a year. Ford is down a little bit. Ford's high. I told you to buy into Ford when Ford was below $5. Its high for the month was like $7.60. So yeah, we're only down like $2. I'm not worried about Ford. I own the stock. I have 1,000 shares of Ford. I have 1,000 shares of Fiat Chrysler. Fiat Chrysler was way up. I bought it. What was it like? It was like $4 or something like that. But the thing about it is now, what is this? Where is this? Now it just dropped a little bit below $10. And I was trying to tell everybody back in March to buy Fiat and buy Ford. So hopefully you did. And hopefully you also bought GM because GM had a low back during when I kept on pushing these damn things. But yeah, its low is below $20. So if you bought GM when I told you, you are up from $16 to $24. I believe GM has room to grow because you got to remember GM is factories, and factories make PPE, and factories make tangible products like these cars, Cadillacs, GM, so forth and so on. So GM, I know GM is going to do well, but it's going to take some time for it to come back. And as you can see, Tesla, they're having problems with Tesla batteries. They're having some problems with Tesla's display screens. I always liked the car, and I liked what it's capable of, like with ludicrous mode, because I made a couple of videos when I became a Tesla shareholder back in 2012, and I kept making more and more videos, and I was really excited about the product. They really need to improve those interiors because they really suck and they're flat and they're boring. It's like if I was going to spend that kind of money on a car, I'd just buy a Mercedes, because they have interiors that are out of this world. But anyway, Apple, $353. That's down a couple of dollars from $369. But you already know Apple's not fucking around. Apple could end up being $1,000 a share, and I base that on absolutely nothing. But the thing about it is they're at $300 right now, and that's up from $90 when they did their stock split. So, I mean, there's no telling where that company can go. They're $1 trillion company. There's no telling how many trillions. They could end up being a $3 trillion company. We just don't know right now. But the trend is up. Nobody makes the product they make. Nobody else can. Everybody makes this copy bullshit, these ugly, stupid Android phones. But none of that stuff is Apple, and none of it can be what Apple is. So the thing about it is Apple basically has a monopoly on being Apple. Can't touch them. Microsoft was over $200 a share. I'm enjoying that. I think Microsoft could see Microsoft, what they're doing is they're making you pay for everything. You buy a Microsoft Office, it's a subscription now. Like I used to be able to buy a bootleg disc of Microsoft Office and use it. These bastards got a goddamn subscription service. Everybody's trying to get you stuck on subscriptions. Disney wants you to pay to watch the Avengers. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, I don't want to pay for that. I'd rather just buy a DVD. Google is doing pretty well. Alibaba is still doing pretty well. Alibaba is basically the Chinese Amazon. Alibaba is going to grow even higher as more and more Chinese people spend their money. Alibaba also is involved in movie productions. So they're trying to diversify. It may look like it's a lot now at $215, but I guarantee you 2 years from now, Alibaba's going up. You have to remember, the Chinese and the Asian markets, like the Philippines, Korea, Japan, those markets are so much bigger than America. America's only 350 million people. China alone is 1.3 plus billion. India is like 1.4 billion. Those markets are multiple times the size of America. So the thing about it is, whether we buy it or not, it really doesn't matter. You have to remember, these Asian people get money and they're buying stuff. What is it? Facebook, yeah, whatever. Bitcoin, I'd almost like to save that for later. Bitcoin, as you know, I've been making fun of Bitcoin. I've been making fun of Bitcoin shills. I believe that the majority of purchases in Bitcoin are being made by large corporations that are buying Bitcoin. There are companies that during the halving, all the new Bitcoin produced, they actually bought that in bulk. And by doing that, you make the price of Bitcoin go up. But the thing about it is, the average small little guy is not investing thousands of dollars on Bitcoin. They're putting a couple of $100 into Bitcoin, and they're trying to pull out as soon as Bitcoin's price value increases, and they're trying to sell it. If you do hold Bitcoin, good for you, but unless you bought it when it was like $500 or $200, you're really not up that much. And furthermore, your Bitcoin is worthless until you actually sell it and get dollars out of it. Nobody's really using Bitcoin as a trading medium. And the reason why is because they're afraid. If they use their Bitcoin could be worth so much more later. Like, for instance, people used to buy pizza, and people used to buy movies and albums using Bitcoin. And that was back when it was only worth like maybe $6 or $10 a coin. If those people had held on to those coins and not purchased those albums, pizza, popcorn, and stuff with those Bitcoins would have been worth over $9,000 right now. But they went and spent them, so now they're just gone. And most people who have Bitcoin, they hold it. They hoard them rather than sell them. So until you actually sell them into dollars, they're worthless. And, without electricity, they don't really even exist. So my thing is, it's like Bitcoin, to me, the party's over. It's like, I know there's a lot of people who want to believe that the party's still on. There's a lot of Ponzi schemes out there and multi-level marketing schemes. But the thing about it is, I think that party's done. GoPro's, still low. People who bought into GoPro a while back, they watched their money just shrink from $64 down to $4.55. When I see something like that, I steer clear from it, because I can't imagine if I was an investor in GoPro a long time ago and I watched my values just drop. It's like, nah, that's okay. Twitter is just like Facebook. They really don't produce anything, but these things are monopolies on our information, and advertisers want to use them. And because advertisers pay into them, that basically makes their stock values go up. So, whatever. If you already own it, good for you. It's like, whatever. Lockheed Martin's okay. Immunotechnologies, they make biopharma, that's okay. AIG is still doing their old thing. Marijuana stocks, now you'll notice all these stocks are marijuana. Cannabis, CBDS, growth, green grow, FOT, vape. All of these things are marijuana. I had high hopes that by now medical marijuana would have jumped up. And medical marijuana is making moves. But the thing about it is, marijuana hasn't overall moved. It's like the government has so many laws against marijuana right now that it's just not moving yet. I've bought thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of shares in marijuana, and I'm just waiting. And because I got them while they were low, I don't run the risk of losing a lot of money to them. But my thing is, as soon as we can get the government off our backs, all the potheads can get high and everything, and I can get rich while they're getting high. So, I just wish the government would get off our backs. Okay, let's see. Zillow, anything else worth talking about? Oil. I'll have to probably go to my big screen to look at all the oil stocks. A lot of the oil stocks that I was telling you about, are up. I'm going to go to my big screen to look at that. But the first thing I'm going to talk about right here is these airlines. Now, as you know, Boeing rallied up to $200 and something within the last, $234 within the last couple of months. It was $234. Everybody thought airlines had come back. Now, understand something. Air travel is not going anywhere. Airlines are coming back, but the problem is we still have coronavirus. None of this is going to come back solid and strong until coronavirus has a vaccine. Right now, there's talk about the government doing another bailout for the airlines, and the bailouts are designed in order to keep the airlines' employees furloughed so that they don't have to lay these people off. I mean, you don't want your pilots and your flight attendants and your steward. You don't want all these people, your crew chiefs. You don't want all of these people to be laid off. You do not want that. Furthermore, Trump doesn't want it, because the last thing his ego can take is being known as the president that the airlines went bankrupt under. He doesn't want that. A bailout is coming. It's just like I told you my logic about buying into the automotive companies. The automotive companies make PPE and their factories, they make a solid product. The airlines are a solid, tangible product that the world absolutely needs to get products back and forth fast. And then on top of that, they get people back and forth to other places fast. Travel is not going anywhere. The airlines are going to figure out a way to shield us from coronavirus transmission, blah, blah. They'll figure that out sooner or later. They'll be a little less profitable while they're figuring it out. But airlines, are airplanes. They're not going anywhere. The government cannot allow them to fail. So the government will give them bailouts when they can give them a bailout. They're not going to allow them to go under, especially when it's not just one airline. It's not like this is just American Airlines. This is all of them. So the government has no choice but to bail them out. And I hope right now there's a Secret Service agent or FBI agent or IRS agent listening to me say this. That's right. I know your game. You cannot allow them to go bankrupt. So what we're going to do is we're going to invest in them, and we're going to invest in them knowing that we're going to make more money later, because you can't let them go bankrupt. You're not going to do it. We know you're not going to do it. We called your bluff, and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll tell it to your face. We know you can't let them go bankrupt, especially when you're an egotistical maniac. So I hope that some Secret Service rushes this message to Trump and rushes it to him directly and says, yeah, Trump, there's some black guy in New York calling you out. And I'll be like, yeah, that's right. That's me. I'm calling you out because I know better than you what you can and can't do based on Bush in 2008. So good for you. Haha. So just hurry up and bail them out and give me my money. That's all I can say. Give me my money. So I'm going to invest while it's in the low. You're going to bail them out. It's going to go higher, and then I'm going to sell, and then I'm going to capture your subsidy. That's what I'm going to do. It's called subsidy capture. I'm going to take money from your fat, rich pockets, and I'm going to put it into mine. How about that? So anyway, let's see. United Airlines is a little higher than it was, so it definitely has room to shrink. I think the lowest I saw was like $20 or something. What was its low? The 52-week low was $17.80, but I think within the last week, I think it was like $27. Yeah, it got under $30. So United Airlines is still a strong buy, but the problem is if you buy any of this stuff right now, you're going to be watching your money is on like a roller coaster. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. You don't want to have to watch the roller coaster. You remember when I was telling you about Gulfport Energy? I said, you know what? I don't want to invest in Gulfport because it was 60 cents and it went up to $2.06. And the reason why I didn't was because just like GoPro, people who've been in Gulfport Energy, they've watched their values just shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. So that's something I decided I was going to stay away from, and it looks like I was absolutely right. I mean, if the history of this thing was so bad that these people watched their money shrink before coronavirus, there's no way in hell I was going to trust it now. Okay, the Chinese companies, Trump was trying to delist the Chinese companies because he didn't want you being able to invest in China. So there are some Chinese companies like China Eastern Airlines, China Southwest, China Life Insurance LFC. There are some Chinese companies, China Airlines, for instance, too. There's some that we can buy. That if you're interested in buying them, I mean, you can get like 100 shares for $600, $800, whatever. China Eastern, China Southern. You got to remember, Chinese people are traveling, and they travel a lot. Now, I don't know how bad coronavirus is going to hit them, but in the long run, once this is over, people are going to be traveling. Even if it's just intercontinental China, they're going to travel. The airlines aren't going anywhere. Those planes have a lifespan, and as long as those planes can fly, those planes are going to fly, whether you want them or not. Okay, let's see. SM Energy is still doing well. Silica is still doing well. Those are two of my favorites. One of my friends decided to go long in TTI when I told him about TTI. TTI is still about 55 cents a share, but when I told you about it, when I made that video, I Am an Oil Man, TTI was like lower. Where was it? It was down here about 3 months ago. This is back in April. He's made about 30 cents per share on that, and he keeps on saying, "Oh yeah, thanks for telling me about that." So good for him. I'm glad he got a winner out of one of my stock picks. The banks are doing, believe it or not, the banks are actually doing pretty well. The banks aren't the problem this time around. The banks were the problem in 2008. They're not the problem right now. The problem is everything else. The people are going to end up going to the banks for loans, loan forgiveness, forbearance, this, that, and other. And keep in mind, a lot of kids that barely graduated this year, I see all these people, "Oh, congratulations, Stephanie. Congratulations, Karen, on your graduation 2020. And the thing about it is you sat in your bed during high school. For I feel bad for the kids of 2020. Like, these kids stayed in the house with their parents who are really annoying, and they stayed in the house all year long. After, February? They stayed in their house from February, March, April, May, June, and now that's 5 months. And these kids they were graduated because the schools had no choice but to graduate them, because you can't hold the kid back because coronavirus is not their fault. And the schools are basically graduating people who basically sat out an entire year of school. So, they're going to end up having to, think about right now, if you're a high school kid, you just quote unquote graduated, because I don't even want to say graduated, because that's not really what happened. What happened was they gave you a diploma, but you sat out. You didn't even take the Regents or any standardized test because you're sitting at home. So anyway, right now you're looking for a college. You got to apply to go to school. You're looking for student loans. Who are you going to go to? You're going to go to the banks, right? And the banks are going to give you them student loans because they ain't got no choice. Because they can't have an entire generation of kids that don't go to college. They can't do it. The beautiful thing about this system is it's so predictable that it's like a table with 4 legs. If you knock one of those legs off, if you kick it and it breaks, you know that there's still 3 legs there, and that somebody's going to rush to put that 4th leg back there before the table tip over. This economy is so predictable that we already know exactly who the government can't allow to fail. Betsy DeVos, she doesn't know jack shit about education. Trump doesn't know jack shit about education. What they know is that they'll be blamed if they collapse. They know that Nancy Pelosi and AOC, that's my girl, by the way, they know that they will show up and call these people idiots and scumbags and racists if they do not print those bailout welfare checks. They already know what's going to happen. The last thing you want is to have the education system collapse on your watch. Those kids gotta get loans. Those kids gotta go to college. They didn't really graduate. They didn't prove that they graduated because they didn't even take the standardized test, but they have to go to college. You're going to hear within the next couple of months, I'll say, definitely before we go back in September, the kids go back, you're going to hear about the colleges getting stimulus, and you're going to hear about schools, public schools. You're going to hear about elementary schools getting stimulus. It's inevitable. It's got to happen. So the banks are going to be the ones giving out all these loans to these kids again. Or, we have $1.7 trillion in student loans. The banks are going to be handing out all this money in student loans. Little Johnny across the street, who barely graduated this year, is going to have a loan for Mustang, some piece of shit Mustang. No, in fact, I shouldn't say that because I'm a Ford stockholder. He's going to have a loan for a very good, wonderful, reliable Mustang. And he's going to get another loan, and he's going to put a Benz boombox in it. And he's going to have a wonderful Mustang car. And he's going to have that car to drive back and forth to school. And he's going to take out student loans. He's going to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. And then 10 or 15 years from now, he's going to default on those loans. He's going to be like, yeah, y'all should bail me out because it's not my fault the coronavirus destroyed my savings and my family's wealth and blah, 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 blah. This is so predictable. We already know exactly what's going to happen. These people are going to go to these banks. I'm getting emails right now. It's like, do you want a personal loan? It's like, no, I don't want no personal loan. I got money. And they're trying to ask you, oh, you want to take out $25,000? No, I don't want to take out $25,000. Leave me alone. They're asking me if you want to buy credit cards. Oh, do you want a credit card? We got a credit card. We give you $5,000. No, I don't want that. No. Leave me alone. They are so... these banks are going to put y'all so... And when I say y'all, I mean y'all, because I'm not stupid enough to fall for this shit. They're going to put y'all so deep in debt until Trump, before he's kicked out of office, come November, he's going to have to print probably about a $4 trillion stimulus check. He's going to have to give every American probably about $2,000 just to keep them from trying to lynch his ass. It's so sad. It's really sad. What a great way to end the presidency, huh? One-term president economics, huh? It's hilarious. So anyway, back to business. Electronic Arts. Doing well. NVIDIA doing extremely well. AMD is $50 a share. I don't know how much lower they can fall, but let me tell you something. If you buy into AMD right now, even if it drops another $2 or $3 in the short term, let me tell you something. AMD, as much as I don't like their products, the simple fact is I know there's a lot of poor people around the world that love their products because they can't afford NVIDIA. Because you know me, I only buy NVIDIA. I got the 2080 Ti right here. I'm sitting in front of it right here. And when the 3090 Ti comes out, I'm buying that. And I'm going to sell the 2080 Ti to some poor person who could only afford a 2060. And they'll be able to buy it at a discount. AMD, I don't like their products, but AMD they're doing some big things. And I give credit where it's due. I bought into AMD. You should buy into AMD too. I can't tell you what you should do with your money, but let me tell you, if you put some money into AMD, I guarantee you 2 years from now, you're going to be like, yeah, thanks for telling me that tip. I'm up. I don't know what it'll be up to, but I guarantee you'll be happy because the thing about it is AMD, they are making big moves. They are selling to poor people. And those are the people who really count because if you can sell to poor people, they got a lot of money and they aren't smart with it, so they spend it. So right now, buy into AMD. I'm guaranteeing you'll be very happy later on. Maybe 2 years down the road. Maybe not even 2 years. I told you to buy Logitech. Logitech went up from $50-something all the way. It said $62.76. I told you to buy Logitech months ago. Now, hopefully you did it. Hopefully you got AMD. I've been telling... every time I do a video, I specifically say AMD Logitech. AMD Logitech. It's coming. I mean, either you're in it or you're not. Let's see. Siri. Warren Buffett bought into Siri XM. It's below $6 right now. It was a little bit higher within the last week. Yeah, it was a little over $6. Sirius XM is pretty much a monopoly in that if you have a car, it's going to come with Sirius XM. But you have to think, the reason why Sirius XM is down is because most people aren't driving and cars aren't being sold. You have to think about it outside the box. Why is Sirius down? Sirius is the only service that you can really get in America where you've got satellite radio wherever you go. I'm pretty sure there's another one. But remember, this used to be Sirius and it also used to be XM, and then they had that merger. the thing about it is, it's like it's really a monopoly. I don't think they'll ever get hit with monopoly status and attacked in court. But the thing about it is, it's cheap enough where it's not a problem. Everybody can buy it and have it. And most people are getting it because they get it in their car, they get addicted to it, and they don't want to give it up. So they pay that $5 a month or whatever it is, or $6 a month. So the thing about it is, if you can get it now, that stock is going to be worth a lot more later. I think this makes simple sense. It makes a lot of sense. So I bought Sirius, and hopefully you will too. And that's just it. I mean, it's gonna. Warren Buffett bought it. Warren Buffett typically makes good picks. That's why he's Warren Buffett, and everybody knows who he is. And who knows? Maybe someday I'll be the next Warren Buffett. I don't know. I probably won't be a multi-billionaire. Maybe I'll be a multi-millionaire. Who knows? But bottom line is, you're buying the low, and that's the bottom line. You got to buy low, and you got to sell high. With my TD Ameritrade, I'm going to look at that real quick. But first, I want to mention something. I've had a couple of people ask me about Hertz stock. Hertz is on the verge of bankruptcy, specifically because there's been few rentals, because obviously nobody is traveling right now. Hertz is a very appropriate representation of what's currently going on with this market. If people aren't moving around, traveling, going places for the summer, going to Disney World, camping, this, that, and other, and nobody's renting their cars, even though we know that Hertz is a big name, it's in the top 10 of some markets in America. The problem is, we know that this company is worth a hell of a lot more. But if you were to only judge it by the last year or two, your values are way below $15, and they're right now it's $1.49. If you bet on Hertz, you're taking a chance with your money. You're basically taking a chance that you could lose every dollar that you put into it. However, you're also taking a chance that, as the economy reopens, that things could come back. And as they do, your profit could be immeasurable. Like if you put $1,000 into Hertz and buy 1,000 shares at $1.49, or I'm sorry, if you put $1,490 into it, or $1,500, you buy 1,000 shares at $1.49. I mean, you could definitely, who knows, you could make 10, 15 times what you put into it. The problem is, it's such a huge gamble. So it's like, we don't know what they'll look like if they file Chapter 11 bank. We just don't know. So my thing is, it's like, gambling is something you want to try to avoid, which brings me to this guy right here, this noob who was trying to get rich with Robinhood. Like, some people ask me what trading things I use. I only use TD Ameritrade and E-Trade. But there was a 20-year-old who committed suicide because he saw or thought that he owed $730,000 to Robinhood. And most people, the first thing they want to do is they want to try to sue Robinhood, and they want to blame them for allotting him so much trading credit, or because he was trading on margin, apparently. We haven't actually heard the exact full story, but from what we've heard, he committed suicide because he believed that he owed $730,000. He thought he was wiped out. Now, considering how much money our government owes and the average student is in debt for, $730,000 is really not worth killing yourself over. And for the most part, it may not have even been 100% legit. Like, he may not have actually owed that much money. And even if he did, there's plenty of people who are $1 million in debt for some bullshit liberal arts degree that they'll never be able to get a job in. So it's not worth killing yourself, but it's also important that you remember that you can never bet your shirt. You can never, you're supposed to bet with your head. You're never supposed to bet above it. And I have a lot of friends who get on Robinhood, and they're telling me about how well their stocks are doing. And my thing is, you just got to be careful, because the thing about it is, you should never trade on margin. Like, I never trade on margin. I have the margin account, but I do not trade on margin. What that means is that you're borrowing the bank's money at interest in order to trade. So it's like, let's say I wanted to buy a lot of Apple shares um, when it dipped because I knew that it was going to be worth a lot more. It's a major risk to buy on margin. It's something I never do. I would rather take a couple dollars of my money and risk that than to ever buy on margin. It's just something I just don't do. So anyway, back to business. The one thing I wanted to talk about here is the oil stocks. As you know, I've always said oil is going to come back simply because oil is the basis of this economy. You know, a lot of people, they believe in electric cars and they believe that's the future, which it pretty much is. The only thing about it is for the foreseeable future, there's no other way for us to get the heating oil and the propane and all the other derivatives of oil. I mean, there is natural gas down there, but that's also a byproduct of drilling for oil. It's like we find natural gas where we find oil for the most part. And then you have hydrofracking, which the liberals are against, but nobody really cares what they think right now. They're just out for the money. So bottom line is oil is coming back. It's just going to take a little bit more time. Right now, the economy is not open. 36% of your oil sales is the airlines. Until the airlines come back, 36% of this money is not going to be recovered. Until the cruise lines come back, 30% of this money is not going to be recovered. So the thing about it is it's going to take time. It takes time for this economy to restart and people to get traveling again. Because right now you could travel, but there's nowhere to go. It's like I was talking to a family member. I was like, yeah, you should get camping equipment. You should just go on a camping trip with your family. Nobody wants to do that shit. They just want to go to some expensive hotel or all-inclusive environment, lay up in some other country and just chill. And I feel bad for these countries right now that are missing money. Because, like, for instance, right now, today is, June 27th. I should be, you watch my videos, you know that every July and parts of August, I travel. I had a vacation plan to go to the Philippines again and to go to Bali, Indonesia, and I was going to just make travel videos. I was going to originally fly Asiana Airlines business class. The shit was canceled. Then I was going to fly Turkish Airlines business class. That was canceled. Philippines has a quarantine where if I had gone there, I would have been stuck indoors, wouldn't be allowed to leave, especially because I'm a New Yorker and I'm an American. And we have the highest COVID infection rate in the world, apparently. I wouldn't have been allowed to leave. So my entire vacation this year was absolutely ruined in every way you could. So basically, I just gave up. I was like, okay, well, flights canceled, hotels canceled, I can't go anywhere, so I'll just take this $5,000 that I normally would have given you, and I'll just pocket that. So you know what? I got an extra $5,000, and now I'm sitting here in July bored out of my skull. So, you know, I've got lots of video games to play, and I've got a house to take care of, and then I've got a house with renters to take care of. So, I was hoping to get the hell out of here for a month, but it looks like I'm going to have to wait till next year. So next year, I'll probably do it bigger and better. Who knows? So we'll see what happens. But anyway, the banks, as I said, the banks are not the problem. The banks are going to ultimately come out of this richer than they already are. Forget their stock prices. These guys are doing great. Wells Fargo is doing well. Their low was 22. They're up to 25. I already got my dividend from them on the first of June, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. Whatever. Bank of America, 23.15. Their high was 35.72 for 52 weeks. So these are companies you know. These are the fallback positions. Oil and the banks are the fallback positions. I absolutely still believe in the airlines. The thing about it is it's going to take longer for the airlines to come back. So Capital One, Wells Fargo, even Santander. Santander is a shitty subprime bank that you hear giving loans to people who shouldn't be getting loans. But the bottom line is they're there. They have assets. They are a bank. The subprime market is only growing. So, hey, if they have to get rich by ripping people off for profit, then good for them. Because the thing about it is that's just what it is. These people, they know they're getting ripped off, but when they go there, they want a loan. So they're going to get their loan one way or another. If they have to beg Trump for more welfare checks, They might get it that way, or they're just going to beg the banks to, if the bank doesn't give you money, call them racist, and I guarantee they'll give you money the next day because we're not racist. We've invested trillions into the urban development, and whatever. But anyway, the price on oil. These are the big oils right here: Chevron, Exxon, so forth and so on. NBR. I had a couple of people who constantly thanked me for telling them about NBR when I did the I Am an Oil Man video. And as you know, TTI was doing really well. LPI, my LPI shares, I think they did a forward stock split or something, and they reduced the number of shares. So my values went up, but they reduced the number of shares that I owned. So as they reduced the number of shares, the value went up. I think the same thing actually happened with NBR, except it was a reverse stock split. But bottom line is, I believe in oil. I know oil is the near future. I know that within the next 10 years, oil is still going to be big. You need heating oil. You need propane. You need all types of oil for your house. And you need these things because you don't have electric. As Tesla and electric cars grow and European companies demand more electric trucks and this, that, and other, yeah, oil's going to slowly shrink. But in the meantime, it's time for me to make some money off of you. That's the bottom line. Silica and S&M. I told you all to get into these things when they were only like $1, $1.04 or $1.03. Both of those are still up. So I'm very happy about Silica and S&M. Gulfport, as you know, I kind of stayed away from them because I saw it go up from 6 cents to $2 and drop back down. I've been saying every single video I talk about Gulfport, as I feel like I have to make excuses as to why I don't feel I want to invest in something, because I have to explain myself. So, that's just what it is. All right, so the rest of these, if you're looking at any of these things here, for the most part, I either own 1,000 shares or more. If they were really cheap, then I'd probably own more. A lot of these things, to tell you the truth, it's like what I did was after I grouped them, I just started buying into them. And then what I did was I did dividend reinvestment so that money I'd get from my dividends goes towards buying more stock. And sometimes I don't even pay attention to how much I own. I just get more. Cruise lines. Carnival is down to $15.78. Royal Caribbean is down again. Now, let's understand what's happening here. Just like the airlines, people have been investing in the cruise lines and the airlines because they believe that when they hear Jim Cramer and people say the economy's coming back, they invest in these things because they want to get in on the rally. Problem is, coronavirus is still out there, and every single time we get a message that says, yeah, coronavirus fatalities or infections increases, it knocks back the entire stock market. So the airlines and the cruise lines are suffering together. Bottom line, you can't make your real money off of these things until coronavirus is defeated. That's the bottom line. So while I do believe that you should be buying into these, if you didn't get in near the lows when these things were really dirt cheap, when I told you originally about getting into them, if you didn't get in near the lows, then that means that you're at risk of going negative. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose money. It just means that you needed to be in near the low. Okay, and then there's the airlines again. Japan Airlines is still a strong buy. I mean, it's Japan. JetBlue, still $10. It's like I kept telling you when JetBlue was $8 to buy it. If you did buy it when I was telling you about buying the lows, you are up. If you bought in afterwards, you're probably down by a couple of cents. However, Delta is still up $6.91 from the $20 that I suggested you buy in. Boeing lost what? Boeing lost over $30, but Boeing makes parts for the airplanes. They're not going anywhere. The thing is, how low they'll go. That's the thing. But that's temporary. The airlines will not come back until coronavirus is defeated. I have to repeat myself so this way you hear what I'm saying. Okay. And then coronavirus development. Marijuana, yeah, I bought in. around close to 18 or below. No. Actually, I bought marijuana. I was thinking of something else. I believe this company is going up, but just not right immediately. It took me years to make my money off of certain marijuana companies, so I just had to hold them. I just had to take money, put it into them, and say, yeah, you know what? This money is a seed, and I'm planting the seed, and the seed might grow, the seed might not grow, blah blah blah. But for the most part, I'm not disappointed yet, because even at this value right here, I haven't lost, so I'm not really worried about it. But I really believe that these virus developers, they have some room to go. I mean, Sanofi is coming up. I told you about it at $46 when Trump was pimping it, and it's up $3. It hasn't grown as much as I want it to grow, but hey, it's still up. It's like, whatever. It just, you keep in mind, you're not going to get rich on every single stock, but if at least a couple of your stocks do really, really well, sometimes they can make so much money that it completely offsets any of the other losses. For me, that's been Tesla. Tesla did so well until it offset any other loss that I would have taken. So that's just that. Lithium mining, and this will be the last one. This is where we are right now. With a couple of these stocks that I bought into, they're mostly Canadian. They're trying to make new batteries that don't rely on lithium ion. In the short term, that's iffy. It may go somewhere, it may not. The bottom line is I bought these things so cheap until it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, like, for instance, when I got into CXBMF, it was like right here. It was way less than a penny, but look how much money I made. I mean, I bought it 2 decimal points down. So the thing about it is, again, if you see a value like this and you buy 10,000 or 20,000 shares of it, and you go up that much, even if you go up to like 50 cents, you've made significant amounts of return on that. The only problem is you have to sell it instead of holding on to it. That's the only downside. So the penny stocks are a great place to get, some gains. And also keep in mind that right now, everything that you're seeing here, with the exception of KNTNF, is below $1. Especially these right here. This one, PEMIF, that one is 0.05, and its low was 0.0187. So it's definitely up. It's just that with penny stocks, you have to end up buying 10,000 shares or more, sometimes even 500,000 shares or 1 million shares. You have to buy a lot of penny stock in order to see significant gain. The thing about it is, if it goes up even a little bit, that can have exponential gains on your part. And that's the only thing. It's cheaper for you to buy in. That means you can buy more of it. Like, whenever it's a penny stock, I usually buy like 10,000 shares of it. So if it goes up even another penny, that's a significant amount of money that I've earned. So I guess that's all for today. I really can't think of anything else I wanted to talk about. So I guess that's about it. So, we'll see what happens this next week. We're moving into July. By the 4th of July, we'll see where the coronavirus count of deaths is, and we'll also see what the market looks like. I think the only one thing we can all agree on is that Bitcoin is an absolute loser.